Hey everybody, welcome to The Process. I'm Chris and that's Jose. And today on our episode, we got a question from the internet, the Twitter. We do listen to what you asked for. Renata Lara asked, can you show us your first portfolio? And so I thought, what a great opportunity to talk about how to design or how to prepare your design portfolio to get a job. On this segment, we call How To. Woo, fancy graphics! And we're back. All right, so Renata says, I looked at her portfolio. It looks something like this. What I'm going to be talking about is my first portfolio, which is a very analog one. And today, everything's presented online. You had mentioned for you, it was presented via
Yeah, I did a CD-ROM. Yeah.
CD-ROM. You guys remember CD-ROM,
CD-ROM's
cutting edge technology? All right. Anyways, what we want to do is ask your help to spread the word. Post something from this episode on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. It'll be down below. And what are some of those things, Jose?
Down below, at the School Rocks is our Twitter, and at the School Rock is also our Facebook.
What about any hashtags?
The School Rocks is the hashtag. Well, you can use hashtag the school. THESKOOL.
And we really need your help because we want to grow and create the movement.
Yeah.
So we need your help, all right?
Boom.
Anyways, first job portfolio, or as I said at the top, how to prepare your portfolio to get a job in design. So I've broken it down to three main things, just three things, okay? One is the IDEO T skill. You know the letter T, it looks something like this. That's what they call the T skill, all right? So what you do is at the very top, you're a beginner, and as you dive deeper, you're gonna become intermediate, advanced, and expert. So what you wanna do is have one clearly demonstrated core strength. So the problem is many designers have a T, but it's fallen to the side. They show lots of different things, and they don't show a lot of depth. The problem is when we're looking to hire, speaking from this side of the table, when you submit your portfolio, I'm looking for something very specific. I don't want a little bit of clay modeling or puppetry or graphic design. I want the best designer I can find, given a budget, a time period.
So is that the same for hiring? Is that the same for hiring for digital versus for a print portfolio studio, digital agency? What do you think?
From my point of view, yes. What's your point of view on that?
It's similar. I mean, you're going to hire people.
You want a great web developer, right?
Yes, specialize in one thing.
Yeah.
Unless they're at a senior level, and what you want is a manager. Like
right.
A
That's
manager.
different then.
Then you don't really look at a portfolio that much.
So just to clarify, if you're an art director type, a creative director type, then it's a little bit different. You want somebody who's a bigger, broader thinker, somebody who can write, who can manage the client, who can communicate, those kinds of things. So direct a team.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. When I look at portfolios, they look something like this. So they show graphics, lettering, UX, UI, illustration, packaging. Everything in the kitchen sink is coming in right now, Jose. And it makes it very hard to figure out what are you good at?
What are you good at?
And what job are you applying for? For example, if I'm looking for an animator and you show me lots of graphics and lettering things, I can appreciate it. I love it.
Right.
But I'm going to go hire a different animator because they show
You want
expertise.
a tight animator, yeah.
Yeah, I do. So what that's saying is when you show a very broad portfolio like that, especially for an entry-level position, and it's what I'm talking about, so no angry emails, guys, come on, that you're a beginner in all of these things.
Right. I mean, and I think when you say beginner versus intermediate, who are you talking to in terms of the people? You're talking to somebody that you would hire.
Yeah. Well, like a new graduate or somebody who's in their 20s, trying to get their first freelance job or a full-time job, something like that.
And the reason I ask is because I think that there is a confusion sometimes of whether you position yourself or call yourself a designer, but you behave as an agency. Like you have like a moniker and you're like a one-man or a two-man shop, and then you want to show all this variety of things so people think that you can do a lot more things. Versus, I want to go get a job at a studio.
Right. So one is you're marketing towards a studio, and the other one you're marketing towards client directly.
Right.
They're very different. And
very direct.
That's a great point that you bring up because you can have multiple sites. These days with different landing pages, you can send out different portfolios. You can have an illustration portfolio. You can have an animation portfolio or one that positions you as an agency.
Yeah.
To me, that's a lot of work. Right now, we're talking about just helping people get a job.
This is the first time you're going out there. You just graduated.
Right now, I pulled out 3 images from the internet. I have a pizza, some dim sum, and a kebab. Are you going to trust the kebab place to make you authentic New York style pizza? Or if you buy the pizza, do you believe that the dim sum is going to be really good? Chances are it's no. That's why when we go to buffet, our standards and our expectations are lower, much lower. What we're doing is we're getting volume.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, like I want to go to the best kebab place, and that could be in a food truck, it could be in a fine dining establishment,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter, but
Yeah.
I want the best in their category. So think about that next time you go out dining, because I know some of the haters, some of the doubters are going to say, no, I want to show it all. That's okay. If that strategy works for you, more power to you. I'm just saying it's what's worked for me.
I mean, I think there's people that are actually pretty good at multiple skills. Like you have the designer, illustrator, developer sometimes. And what those people usually show is the completion of a project. Those are really rare. Like people who do that at a really high level.
Right. So let's cut back to the slide where we're showing this kind of broad array of services that you're providing. So what I want you to tell you to do is just to pick one for now. That doesn't mean you have to destroy the work, but just present one. And I'm going to say, let's focus on lettering. Okay, so when you show lettering and you're going to make a claim, I'm a lettering logo form designer, you can show examples. And the more examples you show, now you're going to establish expertise. And that's really important because that's who I'm going to hire.
Go deep.
Right? Go deep. And I'm going to show you a portfolio of somebody who has gone deep and has an amazing following, and he has an incredible body of work, somebody I respect a lot. So his name is Seb Lester. And you guys may know him through his Instagram feed. He is a graphic designer. He lives out of the UK, I believe. And he's an amazing calligrapher, letterform, logo type designer. He's amazing. So you can see on his website, what do you see here? You see lettering. You see it's up there nice and bold, and you just see lettering samples. And you're going to see more of the same. So I grabbed some things off his website from both his art side and his lettering side. They're beautiful. So when I need beautiful, hand-lettered work, since Doyle Young is no longer alive, I'm going to call Seb, and if he's taking...
Doyle Young?
Doyle Young is a master letterform designer. You know
He's
some of
dead.
his work.
Yeah,
he's passed away,
He
unfortunately.
was an art center teacher.
He was, and he was amazing. So look at the work on the left here. More of the same. So it's very consistent. He's probably regarded as one of the best letterform calligraphers alive right now and working, right? And so you can see also on the right-hand side, that's his Instagram page. And check out that one number right there. That's a number that you can envy. He's got over 571,000 followers on Instagram.
Right.
So he's creating media and content and art, and now he can position himself as doing anything he wants. He can be a juggler now, it doesn't matter, because he's an expert and people are going to come to him for that. So here's the second tip, edit. People are information rich and time poor. Here's the deal. I found a Nick Cage poster because you guys know I love Nick Cage. There's a movie that says Gone in 60 Seconds, right? The idea here is you have about a minute's worth of attention span from your potential employer.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at a reel, and because we're in the motion industry, I'm looking at a reel, you've got about 30, 40 seconds into it before I hit stop and move on with my day. Now, oftentimes, I'm an optimist. I don't think maybe it'll get better at the 50, 60, 70 second mark. And it never does. It never gets better because people generally put their best work forward. Yeah. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to waste a lot of time up front doing a countdown timer or a very long protracted logo animation of yourself unless it's really, really good. Get right into it, edit your work down. Okay, Jose, what about in the digital space?
I think in the digital
How much time do you think they have?
They have a very similar amount of time. I think part of it is looking
minute?
at what kind of projects they worked on for who and what role they played.
Yeah.
That's what I look for.
What you guys don't understand is Jose and I, we've both been working close to 20 years each, right? We know what we're looking for. Yeah. We know talent when we see it. It doesn't take a lot, and if there's time later, I can relate some stories with you guys, okay? So you got to edit the work down. Third tip is to be honest and be very selective. Be honest and know what you're good at, filter out the junk, and then be selective. Find companies that you think you have an honest shot at getting a job. So if you're doing puppets, you're not going to get a job, I don't think, designing fashion or electric razors.
Yeah.
Align the work that you do to the company you want to work with, and just go after 3 or 4. Don't do this broad email stuff because it just doesn't work. All right, so we've used this slide before. This is from our positioning episode where if you're either one of these two personalities, you could be the hippie designer, the feel-good person, and you're trying to go into like a corporate place like Landor. I don't think the work will match, neither will the culture.
I think, yes.
And it doesn't work the other way around. If you're a very corporate designer.
Now, keeping in mind that we're talking about a very specific paradigm as it relates to designers going into design jobs. So one of the things that is the antithesis, or that is very different than that, is if you are going into a marketing or into a social media job, you actually might be okay with having multiple skills. Like I can do Photoshop, I can do development, and I can do analytics, and I write. And the employer is going to say, "Oh, wow, that's kind of good." because that person can account manage.
Some jobs require
multiple things. The issue is that they're not heavy or in any of those.
But let's say this though then, in that case, the general skills work out well for you, but let's say your writing style, your graphic style is counter to what they do, that's going to be a hard time.
You're going to end up not doing that probably. You're probably going to end up being a manager, not a doer of one specific task.
All right. So anyways, I included a link here for you guys, the positioning episode, in case you want to check it out. We go much deeper into the issue of aligning what you're good at with the company or client that you're trying to get work with, right? Positioning for value. So the closer you're in alignment, if my house just flooded over and you happen to sell flood repair services, that creates great value.
Yes.
But in the desert, you're going to have no value at all.
Yes.
Right? So just keep that in mind. All right. So when you see those two things and they're mismatched, and I just found this image off the internet, the two pieces of the puzzle don't fit. And I think that kind of sums it up. Now here's some of work from our website at Blind. You can see that there's a level of work here. So if you're applying for a job with us, profile the site. And Jose, you're very good at profiling. Profile the site, look at the work, and see how you fit in. If you don't currently fit in and it's your dream job to work there, start working on work that looks like what's on their site.
Yeah.
It'll help you.
And it's a level of quality. I mean, because I've had a lot of people kind of ask me for advice of how can I get a job at Blind or in motion graphics, especially up-and-comers. And I'll give you an example. There was one guy that sent me that I was working with him. He was helping produce my old show, and he showed me his portfolio, and I said, well, talk to this guy, and I had him talk to somebody at Laundry, to PJ. Mm-hmm. And I said, don't talk to him like you're looking for a job. Just go and hang out and say, hey, I would like to be like you one day. What do I need to do? And he did. And he started doing his passion and kind of upping his game. But he ended up working at BuzzFeed, doing a lot of those little short animations.
Yeah, those are great.
But he's funny, and he's on camera, and he can write, and he's a good designer. I mean, he can make some really cool little animations, right?
Yeah.
Perfect job.
Great.
BuzzFeed.
Great.
Could he work at Laundry? At that time, no. Probably not, because they needed like super high-end, very highly specialized people.
It worked out better for him because he got a job that utilized more of his skill sets, and they're in alignment, so he's going to be much more valuable. Yeah. So the concept is match and mirror. Basically, act, talk, look like the people that you want to do business with. And there's a line here, and I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit from Tony Robbins. He says, people want to be around people who are like them or who they'd like to be like. Mm-hmm. So my energy is different than Jose's, and somehow we make it work for the show. But generally speaking, when he goes out, he has a good time. Usually when I go out, I'm tired at the end of the day because the social activities drain me, right? So here's the recap. Focus. You need to focus your work. Remember the IDOT skill. Have depth and mastery over one particular thing, and make sure you state that and it's obvious because people don't understand. When you call yourself a visual communicator, that's a lot for me to try to figure out. I know that's a very popular way to describe work or graphic design, but don't do that, okay? Edit all the stuff out, and here's my way of saying it, no filler, all killer. People feel compelled because they're insecure about their own portfolio to put in work that isn't very good.
That isn't good, yeah. I'd rather see one piece is good than
just a few pieces is all you need. And I'm going to show you my portfolio in a little bit because I promised it at the head of the show. And lastly, match and mirror. Look, talk, walk like who you want to work with. Yeah. And if you're not there yet, I understand that because obviously you're a student, but I tell my students this, if you have a student portfolio, you're going to be a student for the rest of your life. There is no difference in the real world where you are in your game. If your work isn't professional looking, we're not going to hire you. You need to aspire to do that. Literally study the frames, emulate it, copy it, do it. You'll get a job there. Jose, you want to add anything?
Well, what I was going to say is that there's a difference between so again, if you're looking to hire for immediate plug and play into a team that has a certain level of quality for the output of work that's being done, you're going to be looked at for that. I'll give you an example. So when I hired, a lot of people within the web agency world, you had like art center students who were really polished in their portfolio. You had CalArt students who their portfolios weren't as polished, but their thinking and their process was really good. Here's what's interesting. So you put them both into a project, and the CalArt students might have the tendency to direct more and be more about what the conceptual framework was and the broad framework for the idea. But the Art Center students could come in and they can plug and play and like just do the production, boom, into each of the into each of the
Do
sections.
meticulous, beautiful design,
Right.
highly organized, everything's in its place.
Was there any right or wrong? It was actually up to the discretion of the person managing them to understand what their strengths were and what their abilities were so that they can position them in the right place.
Okay, so here's my first job portfolio, as promised. A friend of mine, Colleen Mathis, got a job at Cole & Weber, and she invited me to to submit my portfolio because she needed a partner. She was
Cole
a
&
writer.
Weber?
Cole & Weber is an advertising agency in Seattle, and I actually lived right like the second floor to Pike's Market right there. It was pretty awesome. Anyway, so here's the portfolio I submitted, and I'm backing up my advice by things that I've done. So here's my portfolio. This is exactly what I sent. I sent 4 pieces, and that was it. So I know you're going to think, well, that's not 12, what I was told in school.
Right.
And I'll tell you why I chose these 4 pieces and not my entire portfolio. One, it was an ad agency. I'm not an ad guy. I took 1 advertising class. I have no ads. So what I looked for were what I thought to be my best conceptual pieces, things that said something. So things with imagery and typography, that was my best chance at getting the job. I didn't think I'd get the job, but that's what I sent. Now, the rest of my work could have been crap, but they don't know that. I just sent these 4 things.
You sent that, yeah.
So here's the crazy thing. 2 days later, I got a call,
you, yeah.
and they offered me the job.
Awesome.
So I'm going to
Well,
show.
but here's let's do a caveat here.
Oops.
You also send the portfolio from Art Center,
Yeah.
and they know the track record, and they were going to look at the rest of your portfolio anyway.
Yeah, how much do you think where you went to school matters in that whole thing?
It probably didn't matter as
you just opened up a little.
Well,
little can of worms
I just
there.
want to say
Okay.
that based on the portfolio alone at that point in history at Cole Weber, you would have gotten the interview no matter what school you went to.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay, maybe.
You're saying that maybe
I don't
not.
think so.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they're going to hire based on merit. It's nice to know you went to a good school. They know that there's a certain kind of rigor.
That's what I'm saying.
In the
that
training.
no matter where you went to school, you would have gotten. Well, okay, here's the question: was the art director, or was the person looking at your portfolio? Where did they go to school?
They studied English.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
They were
A lot of people in
traditional art director.
advertising
They're writers,
don't come from any school.
Got
It's
it.
School of figuring it out.
Got it.
Anyways, let's cut back to my slide. So I'm going to just push through this a little bit so you guys can see some of the work in a little more detail here. This is a poster I did for the Museum of Tolerance. The first poster that you saw was a gun, and the gun was facing a mirror. It was for the movie Unforgiven, directed by Clint Eastwood. Museum of Tolerance. I came upon this image, and I was thinking, I was looking at barbed wire, some World War II photography of concentration camps, and I was studying the kind of, I let my mind go a little bit and found the barbed wire had a similarity to the swastika, and I put this thing together, and that's the image I created. The third piece I sent was a skateboard I designed with typography. And this was for what was then called Typography 1 with Simon Johnston. And I just wanted to do this because the format was unusual, and I thought just the application was conceptual, and that's why I submitted it.
And Type 1 with Simon is actually really early on in the track.
It's very early on.
So you were sending work
third term.
that it was already very sophisticated looking at the time for an early...
I'm sorry, this is Type 2.
Oh, okay,
That's
got
my
it.
bad, Type
That's
2.
What makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Fourth semester.
I was going to say, wow. Jesus.
And then the last piece here is for editorial design with Fred Phalo at Art Center, as we mentioned, and it was for a magazine cover and the whole magazine. And the image that you can't see there is a crack pipe that I bought, and I put these thorns on it because I had this whole kind of anti-drug mentality and just thinking about the rose.
I thought you were going to buy a crack pipe.
The rose is very alluring, but it's like full of these barbs, so kind of be careful.
Christo buys crack pipe on the next Gerardo.
And those 4 pieces got me a job, and it was a wonderful job and an incredible learning experience. And I'm still friends with Kevin, my boss, back then today. And here's some of the work that I produced while I was at the agency. Now you can see the work is very different than my student work, and now we're kind of entering into a different space.
It's also very Cole Weber.
It is.
It looks like their work at the time.
Yeah. So I got to work on Weston, Silicon Graphics, and then I graduated. Right?
Oh, this was an internship.
No. It was a full-time
This
job.
was before you graduated.
Yeah, so
Damn,
we'll get into
Christo
that.
is like super
I was
advanced.
7th term. I took a semester off. I went to work. They offered me a job. They were flying me back and forth. It was a great thing. A wonderful experience. And all of that was because maybe I was too dumb or I was confident enough just to show 4 things. And that's why I'm telling you guys to edit your work down and align the work that you do, match and mirror to the place that you want to work
It was very
with.
Christo. It was like, boom, here it is. This is what I got. Like, take it or leave it, mother.
Yeah. Well, what did I have to lose?
You didn't have anything to lose.
I had nothing to lose. I was going to
and
school.
it's funny because the portfolio reflects you really well. My portfolio reflected me really well. It was.
And next time we're going to see your
extremely
portfolio,
obnoxious.
right?
I have to find it.
Okay.
But it was funny.
Anyways, I'm going to show you the rest of my portfolio. Andrew, you're going to cut back to this, or you just missed the animation? That's okay.
He's enthralled by the episode. It's such
going,
a good
man.
episode.
It's going. That's right. So these are the spreads. Just want to show you some of the design, the typography, the aesthetics that I was having. I was very much into Sin City, Frank Miller, black and white. This is like before the movie even existed.
And this is 1995.
It is in 1995. So here's what is it called? A city brochure for.
Do you realize 1995 is 20 years ago?
Yeah. I said we've been doing this for 20 years.
I like the work. It's actually really, it's tight. It's
so
tight.
this is just classic corporate.
It doesn't
design,
look like
right?
student work, by the way.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Like you could just see this in any professional agency.
This is pre-internet, you guys remember.
No
So
doubt.
here's I think one more piece, just so you guys don't think I just do flat design. This is something packaging, because back then it was called graphics and packaging.
Yeah.
So I actually designed packages.
There
and
wasn't a
logos.
digital track yet.
No, not even close. That's for Twining's tea. And then now I'm going to show you some professional work. So here's, right out of school, I actually went back to school. I finished school, quit Cole & Weber, and I started working freelance doing storyboards. And I didn't know how to do storyboards, but I'm going to show you my first job portfolio. What you realize really soon after you start working is you spent 4 years working on your portfolio, and if you're doing the right things and you're working at the right place, your whole student portfolio goes in the trash, and you develop a whole new portfolio.
Yeah, you develop a whole new portfolio fairly
Right?
quickly.
So this is what that is. So this is for the Island of Dr. Moreau. I worked with Kyle Cooper on this, designed the logo type and a couple of keyframes for it. And for Saving Private Ryan, I think this was for a teaser trailer or something like that.
Yeah, this was for Good Spot.
It was for Good Spot. You remember that?
I was an animator on this job.
Oh, did you work on it?
God, it was so much work.
It was. And this was like when I was just like barely learning how to use Photoshop and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, as you said before, I'm unemployable. I can't work for a place or a person for too long.
Because you're a pain in the ass.
I am.
Yeah.
I can be. I'm headstrong. I want to do things my way.
Your way.
Right? So this is a spot that we did for a partnership for Drug-Free America. And it was just a lot of animated typography. And this was a big breakthrough job for us. This is a couple of years in. We did our first kind of national TV spot for Mitsubishi. We shot all the typography in camera, on film, 35 millimeter. It was an awesome experience, really cool. It was a thing back then, and it's quite what led to these other kinds of jobs. So this is for Nissan.
I remember
this was
this
designed by Vanessa Marzaroli.
Vanessa Marzaroli.
Anyways, and that all led to this wonderful place. Now let's cut back, and I'm going to show you guys what my portfolio looks like, because maybe the format might be interesting just from purely nostalgic reasons.
Oh my lord!
So I have
there's
this
4x5.
These are 4x5s, right?
What's that?
Check this out. So these are 4x5s, and this was the size of the film positive. So
Wow.
I know Andrew was fascinated by these things. Like, my God, that's really large film. So you can see right here, this is how I had my work photographed. So I would print it out, and then I'd hire a friend of mine who was a photographer, professional photographer, and he would take these. And then these would get mounted. Over time, what I did was I changed it and I put it into this book. And I'm going to show you this too.
And
So-
that one, by the way, was when you actually mailed a physical portfolio to your potential employer.
So now, what I did was, because that required a light box and
Yeah.
all these kinds of things, it was all behind a matted box. So
You know, there's
now,
people who actually send the light box with their portfolio.
yes, professional photographers do that. Right, so here we are. So here are some early things that we had done as a company, some logo work. I won't move around too much so that Aaron doesn't have to worry too much about focus, right? So some logo work, logo exploration for a video game, and then more logo work for another video game called Star Hunters. And I like to illustrate, that's why a lot of these marks are very illustrative, and the clients love these things. And then here's that logo for the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Horrible movie, great graphics. Just rent the movie so you can see the graphics.
And then I want to show you
Crystal
this.
Mansion.
And this is something that you can do if a physical print portfolio is still of interest to you. Once you have your beautiful glossy print, and gloss works better than matte for this particular purpose, You go to this place, and there's a place in downtown. I think they charge you $20. They laminate it, so it's nice. You know, you can wipe out the fingerprints, and then they put this beautiful velvet
in the back.
Very,
Yeah,
very
fancy.
nice. Very
Fancy.
nice. All right.
My God, look at the Netscape browser.
Right.
It feels
This is some
like,
classic work here, guys. Look at this.
my
I'm going to show you.
Lord, that is just
This is
crazy.
for Sebastian International. Look at the aspect ratio using pre-flash. I don't even know what
This
the heck
is
we were
640
using.
by 480. You can only
It
use
was
3
640 by
links.
480.
It's all one big ass graphic. Click on it.
But we
Image
did try.
mapping.
We pushed things with rollovers and neat things like that. Look at the Netscape. Like, is Netscape still around, Jose?
No.
So this is nostalgia for you UX graphic web people. Remember, this is right around 1998, 99.
Yeah, this is
It's
back
not.
in the
We're not
day.
quite there yet. Okay.
Back in the
and Google
day.
hadn't been invented back then. I know you guys. So another website, and it kind of is a reflection of this darker, more
No,
grungy.
Google was around. Alta Vista was the leading. search engine.
Lycos. There was a bunch of
There was a
Yahoo.
bunch. Google came out in
Yahoo.
in 1998.
Okay, they weren't. So this is pre-Google then,
Right.
Because I remember that. So a bunch of websites, early web stuff, but you can see the early print influences. And
Man, I should show my old web stuff, man. That would be awesome.
well, you should. So
All right, I'm
web
gonna do
web
it.
work we did for Dr. Brain, and it's an edutainment company.
Well, you know what's interesting is that one of my the observation I'm having, you know, the work looking through it at a historical context is very beautiful, it's very rich, and it's very.
Here's two more, and then I'll end on this.
It's awesome. It's really good work.
So this is 20 years old, guys. I pulled it out of the closet. Luckily, my wife saves these kinds of things. As usually, I just throw it out and then regret it later, because then
I have no
people
idea
wanna
where
see
my
it.
portfolio is, other than I do know I have my digital portfolio somewhere.
So I want to end on a couple of slides. Maggie, you don't have any questions thus far? No?
I have a question.
Okay. Then you can
What's
ask
the
them in
question,
1
Maggie?
second. Wait, let me just show this, and then you can ask your question. So all that work, look at the year, 1998, dude. 1998 in Res magazine. Res is no longer around, but it was really cool.
Big props
So
to
this
Res,
is Res's
Jonathan.
Res 10 in broadcast design. Check this out. There we are. And you can, it's supposed to zoom in on it. Does it zoom in?
Yeah, it's okay. You can see it, dude.
All right, there it is. No, I didn't zoom in on it because the resolution is so low. Back then I had hair, and that's my wife there in the upper right corner, and that's some of our work there. I looked up the top 10 in Res.
Wait, not only did you have hair, did you have like a puma pattern on your hair? Is that what you had?
It was a
You had
spiky,
dyed-
bleached punk
dyed-
thing I was
what
going
the
through.
hell is going on, Christo?
Different time, different era.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
All right, so Maggie, what's your question?
So I was wondering, I think you kind of mentioned it. It was like, how do you transition from student work to professional work?
How do you transition from
Or
student
how
work
do
to
you-
professional
how
work?
How does your portfolio look more like professional work? Or is this, how do we have our portfolio not look like student?
Oh, how do you have your portfolio not look like student work?
Yeah.
Well, what is really the difference between student work and professional work, Maggie?
Quality.
I don't know. I'm gonna ask
Do you know?
No.
Can you tell?
Sometimes.
Right. It's a mentality. We have the same tools. Everything that is being done is documented. It's out there on the internet. It's searchable. So there's really no difference. The only difference is your mentality, meaning that you think you're a student. So this is kind of a little sloppy. That comp is a little horrible. That image is low res, and those things start to tell you it's student work. Now there's another level that I can tell in terms of how crazy the work is relative to the brief. So if you do something that doesn't feel like on brand, I know it's student work.
Mm-hmm.
It's too aspirational, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So if you do something for Target, notice how, like, if you just watch a few frames of any commercial when you're walking by the corner of your eye, you'll most likely know it's for Target. It's a very consistently branded thing over many, many years, right? So then you come in and do something crazy, grungy, that's multicolored and all over the place and doesn't have a graphic beauty and simplicity to it. I know it's off-brand student work, or it's experimental R&D work. That's typically what it is. So we talk about this a lot in class, and maybe that's a future episode. I think we're almost out of time here, so I just want to run a couple of slides.
Right.
Okay. So you guys, please like this video if you like it, and don't forget to subscribe to our show and comment below because we're highly engaged with you guys. And here's my animation.
That's funny.
Boom, and that's it.
That's
We're out.
funny.
We're out. Credits. Thank you. Did you get it? That was a little sloppy all over the place, but we got it, right?
Are you gonna have to edit that?